Welcome to the Her Vibe is Pretty podcast, where you'll be guided on how to step up into your evolved woman,
design your dream life, and start living it.
Let's get vibey.
Hey there, welcome to this week's episode of Her Vibe is Pretty. And today we've got a little bit of a different type of episode for you. So this is an interview between myself and a good friend of mine named Eric Broadworth. Now, Eric is a doctor of physical therapy, and he is an expert when it comes to helping athletes get to their peak performances without using injections or pain meds or surgery, which I absolutely love. But we have this really incredible conversation all about meditation, specifically meditation for beginners. So I share a ton of tips, resources, strategies for someone who's gone from never meditating before or someone who's very, very new to meditating into making it part of your everyday routine in life. And if you've listened to this podcast before, you know that Sarah and I are both huge advocates for meditation and making that part of either your morning routine or any part of your daily rituals. So if you want to learn a little bit more about meditation, breathwork, and the strategies that I have personally used to make it a part of my daily routine, you are not going to want to miss this episode and this conversation with Eric and I. So we dive right into this conversation about meditation without any real introduction, which is why I wanted to kind of give you a little bit more of a heads up of what we will be chatting about. So I hope you enjoy this episode, and I would absolutely love to hear what your biggest takeaways are. So please join our Facebook group or start following us on Instagram, Her Vibe is Pretty podcast, and let us know what your takeaways are from this conversation with myself and Eric Broadworth.
And then once quarantine started, I tried a few different methods, which I'm going to share some of those tips that really helped me kind of shift from that never meditating and it being really awkward and uncomfortable to it becoming this staple in my daily routine. And it has worked so many wonders in my life. So I'm really excited to share some more about that.
Yeah, there's so many I think good books and really science behind meditation. And you look at some of the people who are very successful out there, and meditation is a part of their daily routine. And you could do it for really as short as you want or as long as you want. So just curious, kind of going off of that, how much time per day do you usually spend meditating, and what's that look like for you?
Yeah, so my regular practice ranges between 20 to 45 minutes. And now, someone who's just starting off, please do not let that scare you, because if someone told me that when I had never gotten into the habit, I'd be like, there's no way. So when I first started, it was very much around 5 to 10 minutes. And now I've gotten to the point where I don't want it to end. I'm not ready to, 10 minutes is not enough. I want more of it. And I feel a difference when I do those longer meditations versus when I am short on time and just do some of the shorter ones. But I don't want that to discredit anyone who is just starting off, because to dive right into a long meditation can be very intimidating. It's hard enough to find time to do all the things that we're trying to do in a day, but then to add on this long, daunting meditation practice, it makes it more of a chore instead of something that you start to look forward to. So I think that would be my first tip, is to start small, but start consistently. So if it's just 5 minutes, I mean, any single person can find 5 minutes. If you are on here watching this, that means that you probably spend some time on Facebook, you probably spend some time on Instagram, you probably have 5 minutes that you can spend to start meditating. But pick a time of the day so for me, first thing in the morning, I wake up, I used to immediately check my phone, and I got out of that habit, and I would use my phone to do a guided meditation, which is my next tip. Is if you start off, I'm sure there's some people that can do that and are able to just sit and meditate right off the bat, but that was not me at all. I needed someone to kind of guide me through it and something to listen to. And so listening to guided meditations was a huge game changer for me, just trying to sit in silence and pay attention to my breath, my mind was just way too busy. But when I had someone guiding me through it,
Yeah.
so much better.
Yeah.
So much better.
Yeah. I'm definitely in the same boat. I'm definitely more as far as beginner when it comes to meditation. So people in here, they get points for doing at least 5 minutes. So they can do longer, but it's just at least get 5 minutes of meditation in and just starting there. And a lot of people are finding like how difficult it is to meditate for simply 5 minutes. And I think that speaks to like a lot of things. One, it just speaks to how like wired we are, right? And really how much we need this. And like you said, when I do it, I'll usually do it first thing in the morning. And what is so surprising to me is you would think that like it's like 5:30 in the morning when I'm doing this meditation, and you'd think that I would be like just falling asleep during it and like immediately pass out. But I get up, I sit in a chair, and I'll either do a guided or I'll do just focus on some breath work in silence.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll find that I am more energized after. I just feel more awake and more alert. And it's a very like calming sense of energy almost, if that makes sense.
100% makes sense. And I completely agree because, so unlike you, I do it first thing in the morning, but I like to be lying down when I do it.
Okay.
And I feel, and so again, you have to find what works for you. Some people would fall back asleep. I never do fall back asleep. I meditate first thing in the morning. And so I get up because usually I'll get up and at it before my husband. And so I don't want to do it while he's like still sleeping. So I'll get up and I'll go either to the couch downstairs or we have a guest bedroom that I'll use. But I like to lie down because for me, I can just relax every muscle in my body and really settle in more than I can if I'm sitting upright. If I'm sitting upright, I'm going to like, ooh, my back gets a little stiff, or I can like feel I'm like slouching, or it's not as comfortable for me.
Yeah.
But again, to each their own. Everyone is going to have a different method, and it's important for people to find something that works for them. So don't think meditation is like a one size fits all.
Yeah.
But I also loved that you mentioned it's like this calm sense of energy, and that you nailed it. I feel like that's such a good way to describe how you feel after, because a lot of us are so busy and so caught up in our mind and just letting our mind sort of run the show, where meditation is that practice of tuning out of the mind. It doesn't mean you turn your mind off, because that's
impossible.
Almost impossible.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't happen. It's not so much about turning the mind off, but it's like taking that step back as now the observer of the mind and allowing yourself to connect. And like, I don't want to get too weird and too like woo woo in this, but it's like you're connecting to your deeper self is what I feel like. And when I'm connected to my deeper self, like my soul, that's when I feel that sense of calm. Like I'm doing things from this place of purpose and alignment from within versus my conditioned busy mind that's just like go go go, chirp chirp chirp, any sort of limiting beliefs, any sort of doubt and fear, or like, you know, conditioning from society and all those things that just get built up on us as we live our lives. It's kind of pushing through and pulling away all those layers and really connecting to this deeper sense of self that's inside every single one of us, but it's just hard to reach because it's buried underneath.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you also hit it right on the head as far as like it being deep. And when you really get into it, like, yeah, it's just a deeper sense of yourself, and you kind of find out a little bit of who you are. So we've touched a little bit on like the different types of meditation. Like you've mentioned like a guided meditation, which is where you listen to someone and they take you through, kind of the experience, I guess, so to speak, and like help to guide your breath work and observe like how you feel. What other types of meditation are there, and what do you typically recommend for beginners? Do you recommend beginners start with guided meditation, or what other forms are out there?
Yeah, I hands down, and again, this is a personal preference. So I do recommend, if this is something that you want to get into, try a variety of meditations. And I'll share a couple that I've practiced along with. And I personally even still love guided meditations. For me, that's what takes me the deepest. And you can find all sorts of meditations out there. And Eric, I can share some resources for you too, some free resources.
Yeah, that would
You
be
can
awesome.
find apps, you can find them on YouTube. They're you find them on Spotify. They're all over the place. So that to me, would be my first recommendation if someone was like, hey, Mary, I really want to do meditation, but I just can't get into it. Hands down, guided meditations. There's also moving meditations. And so that's something that I always said, I was like, oh, my meditation practice is a moving meditation. And that for me was my yoga practice when I would get into a very repetitive movement. So I'm not really thinking about what move is next or so much like, oh, what's my body shape in here? But I'm just letting my body flow with my breath. And you can start to tune out some of that busy mind and the noise because you're so focused in the present moment with the breath in, breath out. And that can be really powerful too, especially if you do have that busy mind, which a lot of us do. And then another type of meditation is like a mantra meditation. And so that's where, you're seated or you're lying down and you're in silence and you're repeating some sort of mantra to yourself. And it can be anything. It could be, thank you, thank you, thank you. It could all across the board. It could be any sort of little phrase, little thing. And it's just, you just say it over and over. And it can be out loud. It could be in your mind, but it's like, it's giving your mind something to focus on while you're trying to calm the mind and be present in this moment. Then there's like your classic silent meditation, where you're seated, lying down again. There's no guided meditation. It's just you, your breath, and your thoughts.
Yeah. What I find interesting is so I mentioned I do a guided, or a lot of times I'll do like a silent if it's on my own, just because I'm not too experienced, but I do know that how to do that. And so I'll do like a 6-second breath in and a 6-second breath out, and really focusing on that 6-second breath work. And holy cow, that's so difficult. And so not that you have to start with 6 seconds, you could even do 3 seconds, but time goes by so fast, 5 minutes, as little as that sounds, or as much as it sounds if you have a really tough time with meditation. I mean, that flies by. It's really not enough. I'll set a timer on my phone because if I've got to be somewhere or whatever, and then I'll look back at it when I think it's roughly been about 5 minutes. The next thing I know, I'm way over. It's shoot, I got to go. And
I love that.
Yeah.
There's another method that I think can be really helpful for beginners that reminds me of what you just said about counting the breath. And it's where you count your exhale. So you take a breath in, exhale, 1, inhale, exhale, 2.
Okay.
You do that as high as you can until you lose track, and then you start over.
Interesting.
And it is a lot harder than you would think.
Really?
And I guess, again, speaking from my experience, in my mind, I'm like, I could probably count to 100. No, not even close. When I get to above 10, when I get to 16 or 17, it's my mind gets distracted. I'm like, what number was I on? And then you start over. And the more you practice that, again, it's staying focused and it's training our mind, which meditation is a skill. So it needs to be practiced just like everything else that we do, every other skill that you try to build. And so the more you do that, and so that's another way that you can start to incorporate a little bit more meditation or mindfulness into your daily routine, is think about the times when you just grab your phone to kind of kill time or distract yourself. So I always think about when I'm waiting in line at the grocery store. I have a gift, I swear, for picking the longest line. I'll be like, oh, this is a short one. And it never is.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. It's ooh, I'm going to pick this one. Then I'm yeah.
And it's anyway. The lady with all the coupons and none of the prices are ringing up correctly. And they're calling people to check different departments. So when you're in line, for example, so obviously you're in a safe space. You're not driving. You're going to be in danger if you do this. You can close your eyes. You can even just keep your eyes open and practice that counting the exhale. And just do that instead of playing on your phone, scrolling Instagram. Practice these little meditation things when you have those gaps of time throughout your day, and you'll become better and better at it. And you'll find this sense of calm, this calm energy that you maybe didn't have before.
Yeah, I think those are some just really good tips. I don't know if you've watched like The Social Dilemma, but you're exactly right. I mean, if you're scrolling through mindlessly on Instagram or Facebook, you could probably use that time better, like to simply focus on like your breath work and like
Mhm.
make more use out of that time instead of seeing, what Susan had for breakfast or whatever. So,
Right.
um,
And then one thing too that I want to share that was a big game changer for me, and you've kind of touched on a little bit, but I think this is different, is it's called conscious breath work. Have you ever practiced any of that where it's like an intense breath pattern that you practice?
No, but I've heard. So I don't know if you've watched this podcast with Joe Rogan. So if you haven't, with James Nestor, who's like big into breath work and nasal breathing, and he talks about it, and like you like it's really intense, and he says you almost get like I don't know, kind of like a high or whatever
Yeah.
out of it, and it's just like weird. But yeah, go ahead.
So that was another thing. So when I started in court during, again, this was all like in March. So not that long ago, I'm not going to sit here and be like, I'm a meditation expert, because I've done it very consistently since March. But before that, I struggled so hard. But one other piece that really helped me with my meditation practice was including that conscious breath work. And so again, you can find I was using and I'll give you the link to this too, because this was the video that I started with, and it's 20 minutes. Again, don't let this scare you. It's
Okay.
20 minutes, and it's a Wim Hof leads the breath work, and then Dr. Joe Dispenza, who I like love both of these guys, and then Dr. Joe Dispenza, in the little gaps between the three, you do like three breath kind of sessions, and then you like
Yep.
pause in between, and then he will do like a guided meditation that's, in my opinion, very, very powerful. And that was one of the trippiest experiences I've ever had. It's unreal. And yeah, you almost get like high from it. And when you're first starting off, I mean, breath work, and again, I'm not like certified in breath work. It's something I absolutely want to get certified in, because it's been such a powerful practice in my own life. And it has brought me so much clarity, as well as reduce my stress, reduce my anxiety in a way that, like, to me, happened very, very quickly. Seems almost too good to be true, but here I am, and I'm a huge advocate of it.
Yeah.
But it is just this insane experience that just brings you so much deeper into the meditation than I was by just doing meditation alone. And so
Okay.
the combination of the two is unreal. And so
Yeah.
the other breath work that I practice with fairly often is his name's David Elliott, and he has some on Spotify that you can look up on
Oh,
Spotify
cool.
and listen to those. So I can also give you that link. And then local, Sam Collahart is one of my favorites. I've been working with her, and she's amazing. As well as I have a friend, Elena, who I've done some breathwork sessions with her as well. And just powerful, powerful practice.
Nice.
So that would be another thing that I would recommend, especially if you are really struggling to stay with it and stay focused. Because when you're given a breath pattern that's a little bit deeper breath than what you're used to, it's giving the mind something to do, which is what we're trying to do. We're trying to
Right.
get the mind focused on something. And when you're focusing on these different breath patterns, you get this deep, like, you really go deep into it. Like, your body relaxes on a new level. You feel tingly sensations. Like, it's wild. And I highly recommend it. It's
Cool.
a cool experience, and definitely something worth trying. And like I said, I'll give you some of these resources that I've used. I mean, of course, do look into it, see. I'm sure there's
Yeah.
some people that might try and be like, no, not for me. But everyone that I have talked to that does it is like, I can't believe I've never done this before. It's amazing.
Awesome. Yeah, if you could get those resources, and I can post those and stuff. Yeah, I've heard really good things about Sam Calawart. I haven't done any of her like breath work or anything, but I've heard really good things about her. And then the Wim Hof, you mentioned that. That's a form of breath work, right? Or is that a person?
He's a person, but it's also, he has like created
His
this
own form?
breathwork pattern. Yeah. And so I don't know, I don't follow him too closely. He does a lot of the cold plunges and the cold showers along
Yeah.
with the breathwork and stuff. And I've never done that. Maybe someday I will, but I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just not my thing. Like, there's a lot of benefits to it, I'm sure.
Yeah. One step at a time.
Exactly. So he's a huge advocate of that. But the breath that I normally practice, and again, practitioner, not a certified expert in any of this, his breath is just deep breath in, deep breath out. So big breath. And I like to do in through the nose, out through the mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And then the David Elliott breath is in the belly, in the chest, out the mouth. And you can either do that through I like to do it through the nose and out the mouth, but you can do it all through the mouth. I mean,
yeah,
different
yeah.
styles.
You should listen to, if you haven't checked out the Joe Rogan podcast with James Nestor. He talks all about breathing.
I'm writing that down because I love Joe. I'm a huge Joe Rogan fan. So if there's a
really
Joe Rogan
like
episode about breath work, I'm in.
It was a really, really cool episode, and it was just pretty wild. I think you'd like it. Let's see. How has meditation and breath work, you mentioned like how it's like helped you. Would you say it's like really, has it influenced your yoga practice? And if so, how has that kind of gone hand in hand with your yoga that you've been doing?
Yeah. So yoga and meditation, if you don't study or do a yoga teacher training, a lot of times people don't realize that in traditional yoga, there's 8 limbs. There's 8 different aspects. And asana, which is the yoga poses, is one of the 8 limbs. And so a lot of people just think yoga is just the yoga class that they go to, every night or whatever. And that's not the case. There's so many different aspects to yoga. The physical practice is just one of them. And so traditionally, that physical practice is designed to move the body, deepen the breath, so that we are able to then settle down and sit in stillness in our meditation. So they've absolutely helped. So that's something that I've noticed now that I'm getting a deeper meditation practice and I'm able to sit in that stillness for a lot longer than I could before. At the end of a yoga practice, you'll have shavasana.
Mm-hmm.
And now shavasana has sometimes becomes my meditation. And I'll stay in shavasana for as long as I was in my yoga practice before that, instead of a couple minutes after, just for a little bit of rest. And so that I found, I think, again, yoga can be a very powerful tool if you do find that you have a very busy mind, you find that you're kind of fidgety whenever you're trying to sit down or be still. Yoga can help with that because it gives your body that space to move. It gives yourself the chance to breathe, to really connect in to that like mind body awareness. And then when you're able to come into that seated meditation, you're in a much more like settled place versus, rushing home from work and, now you're home and kids are yelling, the dog's barking, and you're trying to sit in stillness. And it's just so much harder to just dive right into that from chaos versus kind of easing yourself in with the practice.
Yeah. Awesome. No, that's that's really good info. And yeah, I would agree with that. It can go hand in hand. And whether that's even yoga or just like we said before, just your everyday life and being able to, there's so much stress and stuff going on in the world. And it's just a way to step away, step back. That's some you time, and just gain a sense of like clarity and let everything go because we all have enough going on. And
Totally.
This can be definitely pretty powerful stuff that I think everyone should.
Now more than ever. And that was a big thing for me too. I mean, again, flashback to March and what's coronavirus, what's COVID, quarantine. Okay, 2 weeks, whatever. I can make it through that. Like we had no idea what we were getting ourselves into. And there was so much unknown. And as humans, we don't like unknown. We want to be able to predict what's going to happen. We want to control the outcome. So that's a very hard thing for us mentally to be dealing with. And I mean, now in the thick of an election, I mean, you are just bombarded with
information,
opinions and information and stressful situations, in injustice in the world, in this side and that side, and you're evil or it's
all over,
overwhelming.
Yeah, no, it's so much. And like that's where to like this health challenge that I've set up, it's not just about physical health. It's not just about like becoming a better athlete, losing weight, whatever. It's really about your overall
I
self.
love that.
And that's why meditation is a part of it. And you get a point for doing it, or 2 points. I gotta look the rules, but you get points for doing it. And because it's so important. And there's so much that stress is causing so much damage and increasing our suicide rates and rates of depression, rates of anxiety, all of these things. And we know that breath work and meditation can be a way to help just manage the stresses of everyday life and just be a way to calm down, step back, and just gain control and gain that clarity. And like you said, I think you hit it right on the head with um, not knowing an outcome and not being able to control something. I think that was one of the hardest things for me with the coronavirus and quarantine and everything like that, is that I couldn't control a lot of things. And for the most part, with everything in my life, I do a pretty good job of saying, well, what I can control is what I can control. And all of a sudden, it felt like there were so many more factors now that I can't control, that I really had a tough time with that. And around that time's probably when I started really meditating more. I read the book Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, and he talks about meditating or silence every morning, and that's part of the routine. And it just helps to like let go and gain that sense of clarity. So
Absolutely. I know now is the best time to get started if it's something that you've been interested in. There is no better time to start than right now.
for sure, for sure. Well, thanks so much, Mary. I really appreciate you hopping on here. And yeah,
Yeah,
send me that
happy to.
info. I'm gonna put that in the group for everyone. And then, oh, with regards to like your yoga app, tell us a little bit, I guess give us a little blurb about
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. So my yoga app is basically it's my biggest goal here is to get as many people practicing yoga as possible, because it's changed my life in so many ways beyond the physical benefits that you'll get from a yoga practice. I mean, it literally transformed my life off the mat as well. And so it's definitely, there's a lot of stuff on there for beginners. However, it's been fun to see a lot of my beginner yogis that started with me are getting more advanced. So I have been starting to include some more
Awesome.
advanced practices. And I'm also looking to include, I'm starting actually currently to create more meditations for the app, as well as some breathwork practices, because like I said, those have just been such a powerful practice. And I just want this app to be the go-to for people to help them live their healthiest, best, and happiest lives. And I like how you touched on it's, this challenge isn't just about becoming a better athlete and increasing your performance, but it's about this overarching health that is physical, mental, nutrition. There's so many
Mhm.
elements. And so I really wanted to be able to give people a resource that they could use. So like every single month, I'll come out with a different yoga challenge for people to do if they want to step up their daily practices. But there are also courses on there to help you improve your skills. So if you're trying to do the splits, like there's a Journey to Splits course, or I have my latest course is a 30-day morning routine. So for anyone who wants to build that morning habit of starting your day with yoga and mindfulness, all the classes are under 10 minutes. You can literally do them in your bed, in your pajamas. Like you don't even need to use a yoga mat. And so we just released that in September. So that was, like I said, the latest one, but I'm always adding new classes on there. And then there's also a pose guide. I think that's another really big feature there. So basically breaks down the pose, ways to modify, ways to advance, kind of the things to keep in mind, the benefits of the pose, is another really great feature there. And then, yeah, if you are interested in subscribing or trying, we offer a 14-day free trial. So I highly recommend people start that way just to get a taste of it. And then, yeah, you can subscribe either monthly, annually, or you can buy a lifetime subscription.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. I was super, super impressed with your app, and it had so many different videos and courses, and I love how everything's broken down. And yeah, there is more than just beginner. I think it's great that it really takes you through all the different steps. If you've never done yoga before, you can start there, and you can also, if you're more experienced, you'll find some content there as well. So awesome. Well, we got to get going here. So thanks so much again, Mary, and we will talk to you soon. Okay.
Yep. Thank you so much for having me. Bye, guys.
Bye.